Hey guys, today we'll be discussing salts. Salts is one of those chapters with a lot of information and students often find it difficult because you have to do a lot of memory work. What we have done today is have simplified the information so it is easier for you to structure it in your memory. Alright. First part to salts is properties. What are salts? Salts are a combination of a positive ion and a negative ion attracted to each other. Alright. These positive ions are almost always metals and the negative ions are always non-metals. Because they are oppositely charged, they are attracted to each other and they end up forming salts. This force of attraction is called electrostatic forces of attraction. Okay. Salts are also neutral as far as pH is concerned. They are neither acidic or basic. Some salts can probably touch about pH 6.7, 6.8, but for your context of study, it is neutral. Right. There are two main types of salts. One are the soluble salts and the other is the insoluble salts. Soluble salts, the moment you put them in water, they dissolve to form a solution. Insoluble salts, they just sink to the bottom of the beaker. Simple. Alright. In a solid salt, it is arranged in this regular arrangement that we call lattice. A lattice is an alternating positive and a negative ion. Why we have to arrange it in this way, or rather why do they arrange themselves in this way, is because if the negative was put beside another negative, there will be repulsion. By doing this, you can pack the salts together, and this packing is what we call lattice. So this is the first part to learning salts. Alright. Now, preparation. Salts can be prepared through these 5 methods. First, you react acid with one of these 4 things. Acid plus metal, you get salt and hydrogen gas. Acid plus insoluble bases, you get salt and water. Acid plus soluble bases, or we call it alkali, also creates salt and water. Acid plus carbonate salts, you will get salt, carbon dioxide and water, 3 things. So you can prepare a salt using one of these 4 methods. Next is precipitation. Precipitation is when you mix 2 soluble salts to form 1 insoluble salt and 1 soluble salt. Why do you do this? So that you can filter off the insoluble salt and take the salt. Part 2 is preparation of salts. We have 5 main methods to prepare salts. First is acid plus metal, where you end up with a salt and hydrogen gas. Second is acid plus insoluble base, where you get a salt and water. Acid plus soluble base, which is alkali, you still get salt and water. Acid plus carbonates, now you have 3 things. You get a salt, you get carbon dioxide and you get water. 3 things. Alright. The last method is precipitation, where you mix 2 soluble salts to produce 1 insoluble salt and 1 soluble salt. So the next part of this preparation is filtration, crystallization, all those things, methods in which you produce salts. Okay, you have to learn up all those methods as well. Now we'll see a simple experiment of salt displacement. What I have in this test tube is copper sulfate, and in this burette I have sodium chloride. So as soon as I add both these salts together, they will exchange their partners, meaning the copper will now go with the chloride ion and the sodium will go with the sulfate ion. As you can see in this equation, when you add copper sulfate to sodium chloride, you get copper chloride and sodium sulfate. So you will see this is blue, copper sulfate, and this copper chloride you would have learned that it is green. So as soon as I start adding the sodium chloride into this test tube, you should observe a color change. As you can see, the top half, because I haven't stirred this, the top half has turned green and the bottom is the copper sulfate. That means here the salt exchange has happened and now this is copper chloride. At the bottom it is copper sulfate, just to contrast both the colors. Third part of the salts chapter is testing. Alright, for every anion or cation that we use, we should know how to test so that we know if the ion is present. So there are tests for anions such as nitrate, sulfate, sulfides and all those, which we will attach together with this video in a picture so it's easy for you to print and keep. Alright. Then we have for cations, 3 main tests for cations: sodium hydroxide in excess, ammonia in excess, and the third one, flame test for certain ions only. Alright. And we have gas tests. So for all these tests, we've made a picture, an illustration that is easy for you to understand so that you can print and keep. Now, we'll do a brief analysis of how the questions are being asked, or rather the question distribution. So I've taken past year papers from 2014, May, June, October, November, 2015 and 2016. And we'll see how the questions are distributed throughout the three papers. Right? First, we'll look at paper 2, or if you're looking at 2015 and before, it's called paper 1. Right? If you see the distribution, most of the questions in paper 1, it's mixed. You can't really say if there's a focus on any particular part of the chapter. So it's an overall knowledge. But if you look at paper 4 or like that paper 3, right? If you see, most common is the properties of salt. The majority of the questions come asked about properties of salts, meaning their color, their solubility and things like that. Alright, that is the distribution, and a bit of ion testing. Now if you look at paper 6 is almost entirely dominated by ion testing. You see 2014, 15, 16, everything, ion test. Meaning what happens to copper if you add ammonia to it, or if you add sodium hydroxide to it, the changes. So with a bit of practice, and if you have seen this analysis, you will know how the questions are being asked, and after you've done a few past year questions and after you have memorized the charts that we have attached with this video, chapter salts should be very easy for you.